Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this Monday, October 25th, Cranston City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present. Thank you. Can you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Okay, moving on. Would like to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the last meeting. I want to entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Next up, we have public acknowledgements and commendations. Council Member Renzulli, can you join me at the podium down here? I'm going to read it first. Good evening. Oh, it's scary down here. This evening, we're here to honor one of our friends and colleagues for all of his years of service to City of Cranston here in Chambers. That doesn't mention anything he's done in the past before council and what he's doing now. Our dear friend and former Vice President, Councilman Edward J. Brady. Just going to read what's on the plaque here. Councilman Brady, we honor you for your years of service to Ward 4 from 2016 to 2020 and Council Vice President from January 4th, 2021 to August 25th, 2021. In recognition of your years of dedication, commitment, and service to the City of Cranston, especially to the residents of Ward 4, we thank you and honor you and thank you for your service, sir.
I've known Ed for 28 years, so I could go on forever. So briefly, I'll just say thank you so much for your service to the City of Cranston. Thank you for being a good friend and a good leader. And what Ed brings most to the table is he taught us all that we truly can put people over politics. And I hope that we continue that as he moves out of this seat and goes on to continue in business. And I think he'll be back one way or the other.
Thank you so much.
Council Vice President, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I'll be brief, as I know you have a lengthy agenda and your time is all valuable. So, man, it feels energy over my body because I've served with you all and we've created such change and some intimate conversations and debate and found compromise and communication in some of the most difficult times in our American history. And everybody here that's sitting in front of me, everyone that's sitting behind me, first and foremost cares about the City of Cranston and cares about helping people. And it's not necessarily what the media portrays or the world portrays about the work that's being done in these chambers of creation, these chambers of conversation and communication and making a great scale difference. So I don't do well with hearing nice things about myself. So I like I said, I'll keep it brief. I just truly and sincerely appreciate the time and effort that all of you take away from your family on a daily basis to do what you think is right, going with your gut, following your mind, following your heart, for our blessed city that we all love. So thank you all for your time serving with you. Thank you all for helping me grow to be a better person, to be a better human. And I truly appreciate this award. Thank you.
I hope you're going to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, former Council Vice President Brady. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add or say? Councilmember Jermaine?
To former Council Brady, I want to say thank you because there's something that connects you with me, and I can say it loud. When I was appointed in 2020, we went to each other when you went to register for your term, and we spoke, we have a picture together. So the thing that you and we shared is not about what the title you have, what side of the aisle you are. It's about people, the human being, and what we can do together to make sure our people have a better life. And you not only talk about it, but you show it in your action. So I want to say thank you and stay. We always have a conversation, we text together. So stay the same person, don't change. I told you already, but it was really an honor to serve with you.
Thank you, Council Member. Any other comments? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say thank you for your years of service and dedication to public service. We all know for sure that it's not an easy task, job, and definitely takes a lot of our time away from friends, from our family, particularly our loved ones as well. I really want to thank you for putting forth before us many of the ordinance, many of your ideas, whether it's as an entrepreneur, as just as an individual yourself, as a Cranston native. And, your time for public service is definitely admired and appreciated here in the city. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing many more years of you, much more projects, and things along those lines that are going to be happening here in the city and for our state. So thank you once again. It was definitely a pleasure serving with you, having a snack buddy when we sat next to each other, and being able, most importantly, to vent and exchange ideas as well and collaborate with you on a lot of different initiatives throughout the city. So thank you for your years of service.
Thank you, Councilmember Vargas. Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Brady, it's always a pleasure to see you here. Last term being my first and your first full term, I think we both and all of us grew a lot. It was quite the experience to be here in this seat during the pandemic, and obviously it's still ongoing. I think we got to know each other pretty well over the past 2.5 years, and we didn't always agree, and that's okay. We did so respectfully, but one thing I could always expect anytime you called me or I called you was more so me calling you. I think I did that quite a bit. I could always count on you for your time and your respect. And I think I'm a better person and hopefully a better servant of the city because of the time that I shared with you. And I just want to say I appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Marino.
Thank you. Former Councilman Brady, I have a unique perspective and I have lots of appreciation for your service. I have the unique perspective of getting to know you as my councilman. as a constituent. And I know that I'm not alone when I say that as a resident, as a constituent, I appreciated your openness to us as your residents. And it was also a pleasure, albeit brief, serving with you on this council and working together for the residents. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? Council Vice President Ferry.
I want to thank you for your service. I know you came back for a second round and a third round, so it's something you were dedicated to, and thank you very much. I know it's not easy.
Thank you. Any other comments? There being none, Councilman Brady, thank you for being here this evening. And you know, your slogan was people before politics. Councilmember Jermaine mentioned people, and it was very true. So thank you for everything you've done for our city and will do, and much love. Good to see you, my man. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, we have citations being presented by Councilmember Jermaine for Maria Silva, Xavier Pachado, Micaiah Parenti, and Sanjana Intula. Councilmember Jermaine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President.
Go right ahead. And if any council members that are speaking, if you can pull your mask down to help the stenographer, it'd be much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Council President. Okay, good. That's better than mine over there. It is really with great honor that I present this citation really to the best of Cranston public school student. Maria Silva, Xavier Pichardo, Micaiah Parente, and Sanjana Anantula. I have the pleasure to meet this student last week, and I was amazed to learn about the academic achievement here in our own city of Cranston. So as you know, if you know me, you know education is really, really important to me. That's something I invest on. And one of the I'm fighting for is to see how every child can be succeeded. So this student exemplify what the word academic success means. And that is something I truly hope for every child attending Cranston Public School. So congratulations to you all. So today I don't see Xavier. Is Xavier here? I don't see him. So we have 3 students here. I will call, I want someone come help me here. Can come with me? Yes. Thank you. So I will read a little bit biography about each of them. So first of all, I have to say thank you to the Superintendent Janin, not as Massey. She is so extraordinary because those information, I talked to her and I say, wow, I am so impressed about those students. I want to do something and give them a citation. And can you share with me the information? It was a Sunday night and I sent an email to Superintendent Janin, and like 2 hours before, like 10 o'clock, she sent me all the information. I was like, oh my God, this is the kind of leader we have. So go shout out to Willie, Superintendent Janin. So this is what she sent me. I'm gonna call Sanjana. Sanjana, is a member to our highly competitive pre-engineering robotics program. And her exceptional grades, including her GPA of 4.76, places her in the very top of her class. Sanjana has taken 9 AP courses, along with a multitude of honors and early enrollment classes. Sanjana is an avid chess player and has competed both locally and nationally since she was 11 years old. She is currently ranked 93rd in the country. Sanjana brought her passion for chess to Cranston High School West and started the school's chess club in her 9th grade year, organizing and leading the competitive team to the state championships. In addition to her time dedicated to chess, Sanjana leads the school's chemistry club and plays on the school's varsity tennis team. Sanjana independently signed up for Brown University's Model United Nations program. She has participated in numerous extracurricular leadership opportunities, including the Dell Student Start program, an intensive leadership training workshop. Overall, Sanjana is an exceptionally multifaceted student who embraces expanding her world view by connecting with people from diverse geographical and economic backgrounds. It is my honor to present this citation to Sanjana Anantula. Please, can you come? Okay. Okay, so I read it. So the Cranston City Council, be it be known to all that the Cranston City Council hereby issues this citation to Anantula Sanjana in recognition for her outstanding academic achievements and for winning the Cranston Public Schools Scholarship. She has exemplified role model and an inspiration for all children and youth. The entire council extends its sincerest congratulations and very best wishes on this memorable occasion and express their hope for continued success on her journey to college. Congratulations, Sanjana. Oh, wait. One, oh. The next student is Maria Silva. Is Maria here? Yes. All right. Maria is currently the number 4 ranked senior in a class of 442 students. She has taken extremely rigorous courses throughout her years at Cranston East, including several AP and early enrollment courses. This year, Maria is completing an independent study in AP Spanish 5 to advance her studies. Maria is the secretary of the National Honor Society, a member of the Hip Hop Dance Club, and the National Art Honor Society. A very talented artist, Maria's artwork has won recognition through the Scholastic Art Competition, Art First, and Senator Reed's annual art exhibition. Maria also participates in Taekwondo competitively through the U.S. Taekwondo Complex. All of these achievements on their own are impressive, but it is important to add that Maria came to the United States from Brazil as a native Portuguese speaker when she was 10 years old and learned English in addition to extraordinary academic accomplishments. Congratulations, Maria. So I read the same, this is the same in the citation. The Cranston City Council be it known to all that the Cranston City Council hereby issues this citation to Maria Silva in recognition for her outstanding academic achievements and for winning the Cranston Public School Scholarship. She has exemplified role model and an inspiration for all children and youth. The entire council extends its sincerest congratulations and very best wishes on this memorable occasion and express their hope for continued success on her journey to college. In witness behalf, we set our hands and seal on this 25th day of October 2021. And the entire council signed the citation. Congratulations, Maria. Can you come over? Oh, wait. Mikaya Parente. Mikaya Parente is an outstanding, multi-talented student. She has excelled academically, maintaining her #1 class rank all 4 years at Cranston High School West. In addition to challenging herself by taking honors level courses beginning in 9th grade, she is also completing her 4th year in the CACTC, Honors Robotic Program. She has competed in track and field events since 9th grade and has placed in the top 5 in several state meets. She also volunteered to coach 5 to 14-year-old students in track and field through CLCF. At the age of 14, Mikaya began taking flying lessons to earn her private pilot's license by the end of her senior year. She plans on continuing her training in college to earn her IFR license and eventually obtain her commercial license. This past summer, Mikaya served as a hostess at the Chapel Grill restaurant in Cranston and continues to work part-time on the weekends. Mikaya is interested in pursuing a career in engineering. Upon graduation from Cranston High School West, she plans on attending college this fall to pursue a degree in aerospace engineering and/or mechanical engineering. It is my pleasure to present the citation to Mikaya. So the Cranston City Council, be it known to all that the Cranston City Council hereby issues the citation to Mikaya Parente in recognition for her outstanding academic achievements and for winning the Cranston Public School Scholarship. She has exemplified a role model and an inspiration for all children and youth. The entire council extends its sincerest congratulations and very best wishes on this memorable occasion and express their hope for continued success on her journey to college. In witness whereof, we set our hands and seal on this 25th day of October 2021, the entire city council. Nikea. So I have a conversation with the president of the council. So what I would like to see in our next budget is the Council of Cranston has a fund to make sure those students, when we have them, they never stop studying, they achieve their goal. So if someone is watching those 4 students, they need money. The city already give them a little bit, but they need a lot of money to achieve those goals. So we cannot let that goes away and not doing anything. So I urge each one of Cranston residents to make sure we contact the city, the school, to make sure all those 4 students be able to go to college and the college tuition paid. So they deserve it. So I don't have, oh my goodness, Xavier, I'm going to read Xavier because he's not here, but let me talk about Xavier. Okay, unfortunately, Xavier is not here, but Xavier is a 70-year-old senior at the Construction and Career Academy. He is completing his 4th year in the construction program pathway, and will receive the commissioner's seal upon graduation in June 2022. He received the 21 General Treasurer's Young Leader Award. He is bilingual, the youngest of 5 children in his family, and holds a job as a manager at McDonald's. He has impeccable attendance at school and an independent work ethic. His current GPA is 4.2. Xavier has worked with determination and an interest for knowledge in our construction pathway. He is well-spoken and excited about his future in architecture or finance. He has a desire for advanced learning and is diligent and determined. So it's my pleasure to present the citation to Xavier, even though he's not here. So we know what happened. So thank you, the council. Thank you, President Papa Oscar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, council member, and congratulations to all of the hardworking students. Well deserved. Thank you. Moving on to public hearings and public comment. Public hearings are open to docketed matters only. In this portion of the docket, there is a second portion for public comment a little bit down the agenda. So if you'd like to come up to speak on any of the docketed items, now is the time. We'll do council chambers first. If somebody's here, feel free to come up, name and address for the record. And if you're on Zoom, raise your hand and we'll bring you in shortly. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please. Please limit your comments online and in the chambers to 4 minutes.
Anthony Paolino, 450 Pippin Orchard Road. I've lived there with my wife, my children, my grandchildren for the last, well, not my grandchildren, but us for the last 28 years. Thank you once again for allowing me to speak on this issue regarding the ordinance against roosters. I asked the city council to help us with this daily nightmare of a neighbor's loud rooster not 20 feet from our property line, crowing starting as early as 4 a.m. in the morning, continuing on and off all day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. no exaggeration. This incessant noise, which research shows to be from 80 to 110 decibels, has completely destroyed our sleep cycle for our family, which is not only detrimental to our health, but to our well-being and enjoyment of our home. As I have, especially for myself, whom I have since I have a cardiac condition and have been forced to take sleep aids to fall asleep in my own home, and I live out in the country. The city noise ordinance, as far as my understanding, is 50 decibels. So a rooster's crow, which can be as high as 110, could be almost twice the noise ordinance. My next door neighbor, who moved in a little over 2 years ago, has maintained up to 2 roosters by my count since January of 2020. He's created an intolerable situation, and he's been asked politely several times by me, by the former councilman, by the police, by the mayor's office, to please remove the noise nuisance, all to no avail. I thank the mayor and this administration for finally trying to do something about this problem, not only for myself, but for the many other neighbors who are subjected to this daily aggravation. If this were a barking dog or a loud stereo blaring at 4 a.m., the police would already have resolved this, and I don't understand why this should be treated any differently. We are forced to live in our home with the windows constantly shut tight, in the warm months with the AC on 24/7, never being able to enjoy fresh air or a cool summer breeze because we can't open the windows. Sounds crazy, but it's true. All because of an animal which belongs on a farm, not in a residential setting. Let's be clear, no matter how many acres of land my neighbor has, he's a real estate agent, not a farmer. At the last meeting, there was a discussion about enforcement of this ordinance, and unfortunately, I couldn't get up and respond to that, and what would happen to the animal. Last year, I had several discussions with the animal control officer. He explained to me that if he was allowed to resolve the issue, he was not only well-versed in the handling of these types of animals, he's well qualified. First, the owner would be cited and given a period of time to remove the animal, find a home for it, find someone else who would take it where there's a farm perhaps. Secondly, if the neighbor did not comply or the person did not comply, he would be fined, and the ACO, animal control officer, would remove the animal himself and trying to find a home for it. He said he would probably go to a farm somewhere and see if someone would accept it. Be aware that the animal control officer is adequately trained and already has the proper procedures and facilities in place to deal with this problem. So there would be no extra cost to the city for enforcing this ordinance, and no harm done to the animal, presuming that he could find a place for it. I will state again for the record that I have no issue, none, zero, with people properly keeping chickens for fresh eggs, as long as they're kept penned in and they're kept adequately away from neighbors' property lines. I mean, even hens cackle, but it's nothing like a rooster, trust me, okay? I implore the members of this council to please pass this ordinance. It already contains an amendment protecting legitimate farmers' rights, and to please restore our right to quiet enjoyment of our home, a basic right every homeowner has, which we have worked hard to acquire and maintain for these past 28 years with no infractions of any kind from the city. I ask that you not be sidetracked by calls for more studies and meetings and discussion. Those are just delay tactics by some other people who would prefer that this ordinance not be passed. We ask you, please, don't do that to us. and to the many other neighbors who are suffering from this problem. I thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in council chambers? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Jess Salter. I live at 6 Vaughn Lane. Hi. To start off with, I'm not up here to advocate for roosters. No one who has ever spent much time around roosters would advocate for them and on their behalf. They're not always the most pleasant animals. However, what I am up here to advocate for is that we take the time to go about this correctly. At the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion, as Mr. Paolino has referenced, to going about this as a more comprehensive approach to dealing with chicken keeping in the city of Cranston. And in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, including many of us who own chickens, that is the right way to do this. To jump through to this immediately and just create an ordinance that single-handedly addresses a rooster problem, whether that exists or not, is really short-sighted and doesn't address that overall issue. If a comprehensive chicken ordinance were addressed, there wouldn't be a rooster living 20 feet from Mr. Paolino's property line. There would be very clear guidelines in place for how and where you can keep your chickens. So I am just asking that we take a step back and that we look at how this can be done correctly and how realistically roosters can and will be removed from people's property, because Mr. Paolino may think that it's very easy to have a rooster picked up and rehomed, but it is not. And there are very few farms in which to place these roosters. And most of those farmers already have more roosters than they want. They do not want to take additional roosters. And to my understanding, it's not even legal for our shelter to carry them right now because you have to have a special fowl license. So I think I implore you to take more time, step back, consider an ordinance that was worked very hard on 10 years ago and passed by the council and then vetoed by the mayor. And there's an opportunity to do this right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in council chambers? Hey, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Rick Naraki. I live at 59 Bryant Road over in Eden Park. Just want to talk about getting rid of the roosters. Want to put up some points that maybe we're not talking about here. One of the things I think we missed is they're disruptive, or maybe we did say that. They are disruptive, and I firmly believe that having a rooster in near proximity of these homes in Eden Park brings down the property value, without a doubt, and that affects everybody, whether you're near the rooster or not, because when property values come down, the tax base comes down. And I didn't know we were in a position right now that we can lower the amount of taxes coming into this city based on property values. We have this young woman before me who said she's not speaking for the roosters, but that's pretty much what came up. And what happens to the roosters is really none of my concern. I didn't invite them in. I didn't come to my piece of property there, and there were no roosters. And then someone brought them in. They brought this violation in here. They brought this inconvenience. And he's right. Mr. Paolino is correct. I have a rooster about 100 yards away from my bedroom window. Forget about opening the window on a nice night, because I'm going to be up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock as soon as the sun rises. So that option is now gone, and that's the truth. There's absolutely no need for a rooster if you want your fresh eggs. There's just none. We've already discussed this in the last ordinance meeting. We spoke online about it. If you want your eggs, all you need is the chickens. You don't need a rooster. How they come about getting a rooster, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they get the chicks, they think they're hens, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, they got a rooster. Maybe they got them for other reasons. It's absolutely none of my concern how that rooster got there. There were council people that spoke, and I was offended. I was offended as a taxpayer that you would cite the concerns of that rooster over the people with the problem of these roosters. And I can promise you that my neighbors who don't feel comfortable public speaking, it's difficult to get up here in front of people, you know, you don't know, positions of power, I guess, and complain and actually voice this opinion. But I know, and they're like, yeah, go get them, Rick. You know, go tell the city council how we feel. And I'm here doing this on their behalf. People with, and I can't even get into the issues of, you know, rats eating the bird feed in these neighborhoods. It's not just the 100-yard, the one 100 yards from me. It's other people in my neighborhood that have been doing this. People finding rats in their garage where they could rat holes. People next door to the chicken coops where they're sitting there and they see them burrowing into their ground and they don't want to go out on their porch. But yet the comment was, well, we need a comprehensive, no, that may be true, a comprehensive plan about the hens. But right now, the issue at hand, and those roosters are also eating that food, is that the annoyance of the rooster itself. So I just want to, you know, but you know, that's what I want to say. And thank you for your time. You know, I really hope this ordinance gets passed, and you know, anyone that's around here can feel comfortable knowing that, you know, they can open their windows and not be disturbed by this incessant cackling of the roosters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in council chambers for public comment on docketed items? There being none, we'll check to Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. We'll bring you in one at a time.
Yes, account name, Alvin, Alana Melvin.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Good evening and welcome. The floor is yours. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure, Ayana Melwan, 35 Sherwood Ave, Westerly, Rhode Island. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm on my phone. I apologize.
Can you repeat that one more time and just speak a little slower for the stenographer?
Sure, Ayana Melwan, 35 Sherwood Drive, Westerly, Rhode Island.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Council President, and to all the council members for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I want to say that Councilman Edward Brady has been a great friend of mine while I've been doing some community work in the city of Cranston, and he will be missed in this role, but I know he won't stop continuing what he's been doing in terms of really impacting the community, not only in Cranston, but in all of Rhode Island. So I'm not going to say I miss him because I'm still going to be harassing him to continue to do good work. I wanted to come on tonight to speak on behalf of the resolution for Lights On After School for work with science, technology, engineering, and math in the after school and summer learning programs. We've been doing these programs in Cranston for over 5 years now. I now work at Mystic Aquarium, and Mystic Aquarium has been doing the programs in the district for a little over 5 years intentionally. And I brought the programs in about 7 years ago to Gladstone Elementary School and Hubie Bain Middle School. And now we've spread to additional elementary schools in the district and to Ocean State Kids Club that serves middle school students. I'm really happy that we're going to recognize and at least talk about this event tonight. It's over 20 years that we've celebrated Lights On After School, and it's an opportunity to really lift up the great work that after school professionals and summer learning professionals do in the field for around social emotional learning for youth, workforce development, among many, many other things. COVID has added so many stresses and additional challenges, and all the after school programs have been able to step up and do things that we normally wouldn't do, including provide food to families during COVID, provide messages in their language about where COVID testing happens and where the COVID vaccine is located, and also connect them to services so that they're not evicted from their homes. So these programs have done a lot, and it's just great that we can recognize them this year in a tough year, and especially this year, the After School Alliance, which this is their 22nd year of celebrating Lights on After School, is really happy to highlight STEM after school programs. Like I mentioned before, it stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, because those programs do address learning loss. And they do that because we in the informal education field like to say that we prepare youth for learning. We prepare them emotionally through team building activities. We prepare them socially because we let them socialize with friends while they problem solve together. And we let them fail so that they fail often and then have small wins and successes so that they build resiliency and they're ready for the workforce, whether they jump into a career or whether they continue down an education path with college or university. So I just wanted to say I'm in high support of the resolution tonight to recognize Lights on After School. It's October 28th nationally, but there's a Cranston program that's going to recognize it on Wednesday, October 27th at Edgewood Highland. I hope to see you all there. Me and my family will be there. And I just want to thank, especially thank Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jessica Marino, and Councilman Robert Freire for sponsoring this. I really appreciate your support and love towards our youth in Cranston. So thank you.
Thank you, Ayanna.
Next is Caitlin Blankenship.
Good evening, Caitlin. You can unmute and name and address for the record, please.
Caitlin Blankenship. My address is 42 Lark Ave in Cranston.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would just like to echo everything that Ayanna has already mentioned. I am currently the statewide coordinator for STEM Advantage After School programs in Rhode Island, and we're especially excited about the efforts that the city of Cranston has really taken with the STEM after school programs. We went from one site at Gladstone to now 5 different schools and after school program sites in Cranston alone. COVID has definitely made it challenging, but the hard work and love that the city has put into our youth and our STEM programming has really made it so successful that we've been able to expand. And so we're especially excited this year to celebrate Lights on After School at Edgewood Highland in honor of all of our new STEM sites throughout the city. Speaking as a product of Cranston Public Schools and of after school programs, they really have changed my life in so many ways. And so I'm so grateful to have a city council that supports our youth. And I would also like to highlight the hard work and dedication from Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Marino, and Councilman Ferry. Thank you all so much. I'm in huge support of this resolution, and I know our families are really excited. We hope that we see some of you during our celebration at Edgewood Highland this Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Mr. Lima, is there anybody else on Zoom?
No public comment. One additional, Drake Patton.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Drake Patton, 684 Natick Avenue. I wanted to speak tonight on this proposed Rooster ordinance, and I'll be brief. You've heard from me before at the ordinance meeting. And I want to also support Ms. Salter's statements. I agree with everything she said. You know, going after roosters, I'm not a rooster fan either, and I have them. I'm a farm. I have a lot of them. And what also happens is when anybody finds a chicken in the city, people sometimes dump them in the woods. Sometimes They find them on the street. The calls go out to the farms across this city, and we are asked to handle it. And we're asked to handle it as a favor because the animal control officer can't take fowl at that facility. So it actually does matter what happens to these roosters that belong to families if this passes. So I want to just expand a little bit on what Ms. Salter said. And then I want to ask a question really of the council generally, a couple of questions. How many rooster calls does everyone really get? I'm curious about that. I know a lot of chicken keepers in the city. I know almost no one who keeps roosters except for on a farm. And I also really want to know why we can't use the noise ordinance, except I'm hearing tonight from one gentleman, perhaps it's about rats. Are we saying that this is a rat problem? I just think we're not being incredibly clear on what the issue is. But this ordinance, as it is proposed tonight, is not comprehensive enough. And like Ms. Salter, I believe strongly that a chicken ordinance would handle this, as all chicken ordinances in all places that have them have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other residents or listeners on Zoom?
Seeing no public comment.
No more public comment? Okay, anybody else? Last call for in chambers? Okay, I will close public comment on docketed items. Moving on to resolutions. We have a resolution urging the city council and administration to recognize and celebrate National Immigrants Day, sponsored by Councilwoman Germain. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Under discussion. Councilmember Germain.
Sorry, Council President, my little paper just move 1 minute, okay? It just goes, where is it? That's, I should print it, so do not trust computers, so. Okay. Oh, right.
Council member, if you don't mind, if you can, it's a reminder for everybody to remove their mask when they speak
Oh,
for
okay.
the stenographer. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Dear members, so this resolution before you this evening is a call for action. Unfortunately, we have witnessed for the past couple of years an increase in the demonization of immigrants in this country. When we know that this country is founded by immigrants. Often you hear, and I hear it, I experience it, people say to other, go back where you come from. And I have this many times in my experience as a council person. People told me, go back where you come from. And I believe this behavior is a result of ignorance. The only people who are legitimate to say such thing, they don't do it, they don't say it. Indigenous people, what we call Native American, for 100 years have not done so. They didn't say that. Rather, they open their arms and welcome immigrants in this nation. We unfortunately live in an era where we tend to forget the very fabric of our nation, which is a nation of immigrants. Currently in our history, I think we have an obligation to educate our children, our friends, our parents, the next generation, not to perpetuate the same mistake of the past and current. we have a moral duty to acknowledge the ultimate truth that unless your ancestors were Native American or former enslaved Black people brought in the America against their will, every person in the United States is a child of immigrants. We cannot forget or bury the truth. That's why I urge you all to take action. That here in our city, in our Cranston, our own, we form and educate another generation who will treat immigrants with the respect, dignity, and recognition they deserve. Celebrate National Immigrants Day in Cranston on October 28th is a pathway to recognize the contribution of immigrants in this country and reiterate the values inscribed in the Statue of Liberty. That's why I urge you, please, to pass this resolution and we can start this celebration by having festivals to celebrate all our immigrants, all the contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jermaine. Any discussion? Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilwoman, for introducing this resolution in recognition of National Immigrants Day. I support this wholeheartedly. Our community in Cranston is stronger and better for the contributions that people from around our world bring to our city. It's a richer city because of it, and we need look farther. Cranston is a better place for you being here, and I hope everyone will support this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you. I'm going to sorry about that. Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine, for introducing this. I'm going to echo the sentiments that Council Member Donegan also mentioned, given the fact that we also have a resolution that's also being heard tonight, right, where we're recognizing Italian American Heritage Month this evening as well, goes to pose the fact that our country, our state, our city is the melting pot of so many cultures, so many different perspectives, and bringing that into the melting pot here in the city of Cranston, the demographics that are reflected day by day and that are reflected even in our latest census as well, definitely goes to show the fact that we are growing and that we have a lot of different nationalities that make us all definitely one city, at least here in Cranston, and that's to work all together. So thank you so much for recognizing October 28th as Immigrant Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? Councilmember Marino.
Thank you. I'd like to also echo the sentiments of Councilman Donegan, Councilman Vargas. Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine, for bringing this resolution forward. And great minds think alike. Councilman Vargas stole my melting pot line. It is the foundation of this country. And this is a good resolution I'll support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan. Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, a resolution passes. Moving on, we have a resolution in recognition of STEM-based after-school programs sponsored by Councilwoman Vargas, Marino, and Council Vice President Ferry. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. Any discussion? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. As everyone has either read the resolution. If not, definitely have heard the comments from Ayana Melvin, who's the After School Alliance, member of the After School Alliance, and as well as Caitlin, who both have done a lot of phenomenal work with our city and our school department. The lights on after school is extremely important. As noted as well, we have many STEM programs throughout the city where they are fundamental. They have a social and an emotional impact on children and our youth from K through 12, as well as the workforce part of it, which goes up to the age of 24, particularly with the programs that we have here in the city as well. Not only as a councilwoman, but as a mother of a child in particular who has, well, both of my kids have gone through after school, but definitely my son has gone through the STEM program. I can't say enough and speak highly of the program. But you know, after school programs are very essential. They're essential to the working parents that allow their children to be in a safe and learning environment so parents can work. While the children also learn, you know, the science, technology, you know, engineering, math component of many programs. So I am extremely happy to be a sponsor of this resolution before us. And again, I just want to give a quick shout out to the After School Alliance, but especially the Lights On After School, who's been around for at least 20 years, if not more, in our great country, in sharing the light on the importance of after school programs. So I myself plan on being at the celebration on Wednesday, although the Lights On After School is not on until Thursday, the national recognition of it. I do plan on being there this Wednesday at Edgewood Highland as we recognize and celebrate the great programs that exist here in our city. And we're very fortunate to have a program like this and many after-school programs here in the city. So thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Councilmember Ferry.
Yeah, yes, I'd like to just say quickly that the passion and the ability that Caitlin and Ayana have to get children interested in perhaps the four things that I hated most in school, science, technology, engineering, and math, is just a phenomenal accomplishment. And their enthusiasm just encourages me to support this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. So I just want to echo the sentiment of Council Vargas and Council Ferry, because I know those two ladies that been working really hard to ensure that our children, our youth have something that can keep them moving forward. So congratulations and thank you for bringing this up. And I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. We have one co-sponsor. Councilmember Campopiano.
Thank you, Council President. I would also like to be a co-sponsor. It sounds like a wonderful program, and I'm all for engineering and anything to do with science. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have another co-sponsor. Any other discussion? Councilmember Renzulli.
Thank you. My son participated in the STEM camp. I think it was last summer during COVID, and he loved it. And Caitlin was excellent. And I know that STEM programs are important for everyone, but especially for our girls who are just behind in STEM related careers and need these opportunities. I think this is a very important program. And I want to commend Council Member Vargas, who always brings up the importance of after school programs for working parents. Thank you. I'd also like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Okay, we have another co-sponsor. Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campopiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council
Yes, resolution passes. Next, we have a resolution in recognition of Italian American Heritage Month, sponsored by Councilwoman Marino and Council Vice President Ferry. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second under discussion. Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, we are introducing a resolution in recognition of Italian American Heritage Month. This is also recognized by Congress as well. This is of personal significance for me, being an Italian American first generation, where both my mother and my father came to America with their parents as young children for a better life. And there are numerous contributions that Italian Americans have contributed, not just to our, our local community, but on a national level as well. And I hope that we'll have support for this resolution this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you. I actually had apologized. I was a little late. I was going to ask Councilwoman Jermaine to be added as was a little resolution that is coming before us. I would love to continue to also celebrate the great contribution also contributed here to the city of Cranston.
Thank you, council member. Council member Renzulli.
Thank you. I just want to thank the sponsors for bringing this resolution forward. Also, as an Italian American, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. This morning, we were in Knightsville with the Cranston delegation, and Cranston was presented with a large check from the General Assembly to revitalize Knightsville, which is a sister city to Itri, Italy. And so it is, more evident than ever, the cultural fabric and demographics that have, been enriching Knightsville and all of Cranston. So celebrating Italian heritage is just a great thing. So thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Campopiano.
Thank you, Council. For this.
Thank you, councilmember. Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you to the sponsors for bringing this forward. If possible, I'd also like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, councilmember. Any other discussion? I'll just ask to be added as a co-sponsor as well. Feeling kind of left out. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, resolution passes. Moving on, we have a resolution in recognition of Veterans Day, sponsored by Councilwoman Marino, Vargas, and Council President Paplaskas. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve, and we have a second under discussion. Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution before us is to recognize, honor, pay tribute to our veterans in our country, in a great state, again, here in our beautiful city of Cranston, and to thank all of our veterans, those who have served, those who continue serving, all men and women, and to honor those who obviously, as the resolution has says, and it says itself, right, who have made the ultimate sacrifice and who've answered the call of duty. Can't thank our veterans enough. My husband's a veteran, and well, he said, he often says to me that, hats off to those veterans, who didn't have all the equipment that they have, to what we have today. So World War II and all the other wars, obviously didn't have all the equipment we have today. And he's always saying that, he tips his hat over to all of those other veterans, but nonetheless, every veteran, everyone who sacrifices their life to fight for American freedom should definitely be thanked, not just on Veterans Day, but every single day. So I thank my fellow sponsors and definitely welcome the sponsors coming from any other council member who wish to be added on. So thank you once again.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, this resolution in recognition of Veterans Day is something that is also near and dear to me, having had family members that have served in World War II, having family members that have served in Vietnam, and having friends that have served in Gulf Wars. The level of sacrifice for those men and women is something that I frankly can't comprehend, but I know that I appreciate and do not take for granted. And I would add that, I try, and I'm sure others probably do as well, but it's a good reminder that, if you see someone, even if it's a stranger, and you happen to see they're wearing a veteran's hat, or you know that they've served, always a shout out of thank you for service is always appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Council Vice President Ferry.
If I didn't ask to be a co-sponsor on this, my father would not be very happy with me. So he's a Korean War veteran, and I would ask to be a co-sponsor, please.
Thank you. Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Council member Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. So I would like to say thank you to Councilman Vargas and all the sponsor of this resolution. And I echo your sentiment, so I cannot say enough that how those men and women have sacrificed for us. And sometimes we tend to take everything for granted, and it's not. And it's a way to tell them that we appreciate the sacrifice they made for us to be living in a country where we are safe. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Council member Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. I too, if the sponsors, if I could be added as a co-sponsor, I would appreciate it. And Council. From our city, our state, our country, and around the world, fighting to protect our freedoms and make a world a better place. I would be remiss as a history teacher if I didn't point out that the 11th of November isn't an entirely random date, where this year celebrates the 103rd anniversary of armistice, which temporarily ended the fighting of World War I. So also to recognize for those in Europe that also fought bravely there. So thank you to all the veterans.
Thank you, council member Vargas.
There's another thing that I wanted to add on here. And that is obviously it has a little bit to do with the resolution, but the administration can perhaps share later on. But to anyone that's on Zoom or here with us this evening is to, I'd like to thank the administration, the city, and everyone that's putting the efforts together in the logistics of the Veterans Day Parade that's also going to be taking place on November 11th here in the city. So I'd be remiss if I didn't share that and thank the administration, again, everyone who's putting this together. But most importantly, invite all our veterans, not just veterans that live here in the city, but definitely veterans throughout our state. So again, November 11th, and I believe it's at 10 o'clock in the morning if I don't have the time wrong. Yeah,
Yes,
10 o'clock.
10:30, I
Thank
think.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Okay. Any other discussion from, Director Moretti, did you want to update us on the Veterans Day
Yeah,
Parade?
thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, obviously, I think we'll make sure everyone knows where November 11th. Hopefully, everyone will be there. I believe the parade will start at 10 o'clock towards, I call it Legion Bowl, the pub, coming down Park, right to the Park Theater, looping around Rolfe, to have a little ceremony near the cannons. So obviously, the whole community would love to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other discussion? Council Member Campopiano.
Council President, I would be honored to be a co-sponsor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion? Councilmember Renzulli?
I would also like to, since we just talked about the parade, there is a 5K also that they do for Parkview Middle School, puts it on, and it benefits Operation Stand Down. So I think that, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, and I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? There being none, I'd just like to thank all veterans for your service. I say it all the time, landed the free because of the brave. So if you're a veteran, thank you. We're able to do what we do here because of you. So it means the world to us. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on to report of committees. We have the Finance Committee. We have a resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements. I'll entertain a motion to approve this passed in committee.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, thank you. Moving on, we have a resolution authorizing the motor vehicle tax abatements. This passed in committee, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Moving on, we have a resolution authorizing the tangible tax abatements. This passed in committee, and I urge passage. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Next, we have the tax interest waiver approvals. This passed in committee, and I urge passage.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Thank you. Moving, that concludes all of the business of the Finance Committee. Moving on to the Public Works Committee, Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes, we have two ordinances. The first is ordinance and amendment of Chapter 12 of the Code of City of Cranston entitled Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places. This passed in committee. I urge passage tonight.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on 7-21-08? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Next, we have 7-21-16 ordinance and amendment of Chapter 8.12 of the City Code of Cranston entitled Health and Safety Garbage Collection and Disposal. This passed in committee. I urge passage tonight. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, that concludes the work of the Public Works Committee. Moving on to the Ordinance Committee. Chair Riley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First before us, we have ordinance 7-21-11 titled Motor Vehicle and Traffic Multi-Way Stop. That was sponsored by Council President Paplaskas. This passed the ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage. I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan. Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Riley.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Moving on, we have ordinance 7-21-12 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic Multi-Way Stop, Randall Street and Whiting Street, four-way stop, sponsored by Council President Paplaskas. This passed ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage.
Motion to approve?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Councilman.
We
Riley?
have, sorry about that, ordinance 7-21-13, ordinance entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Stop Intersections Enumerated at Quail Hollow Drive and Wildberry Drive, sponsored by Council President Paplaskas. This passed an ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Moving on to ordinance 9-21-04 entitled Animals, Roosters Prohibited, sponsored by Councilwoman Renzulli. This passed in committee and is before us tonight for passage. I will entertain a motion.
Do we have a motion on 9-21?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second under discussion. Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. With respect to this ordinance, with respect to the banning of roosters, being a Ward 4 resident for over 20 years, I'm very familiar with Ward 4 really being an area that lends itself to a more rural nature. The plan department could back this up, but I'm pretty sure the 880 zoning, which is the 80,000 square feet, the 2-acre lots, is predominantly in Ward 4, and a ban on roosters would greatly negatively impact that ward. With that said, I'd rather focus this evening on what we all agree on. And what we all agree on is that roosters do not belong in an urban setting. I'm pretty confident we would have consensus on that front. The other thing I think that we would have consensus on, again, focusing on what we can agree on, is that Cranston is a beautiful mix of rural and urban. And to put forth an ordinance as simplistic as this, to just have a whole ban, I think doesn't serve our city well, doesn't serve our residents well. And there is a solution to remedy the problem, even in the rural nature, where you have a rooster or roosters plural crowing in close proximity to someone's property. And I would propose this evening that the ordinance be amended to allow for an exception to the prohibition, not just with respect to designated farms, but also with respect to non-designated farms that are owner occupied, and there is a minimum of 2 acres, such that a single rooster shall be allowed on the condition that that rooster be contained within a fenced area, a house, or a coop that is at least 150 feet from the nearest property line. So that would be the street, that would be a neighboring property. In addition, I would go one step further and add that it would be at least 200 feet from the nearest neighboring residential house. That would ensure peaceful enjoyment of one's property. In being a resident of Ward 4, I am in relatively close proximity to a farm that does in fact have roosters. And, you know, I know that there may be comparisons as to the decibel sound. Look, if it's right next to your house, it's loud. There's no doubt about it. But I think that an ordinance amendment like this will allow for people to use their property, which 880 has agriculture by right. We will be able to afford people that opportunity if that's something that they so, you know, wish to do. At the same time, it's respectful of their neighbors so that they have peaceful enjoyment of their property. Thank you.
Councilor Marino, is that in the form of an amendment?
If there's, I can make a formal motion to amend. And for the clerk's benefit, I will provide for Rose Alba, not just the specific line, but the language, if I can pass that on to her as well.
I'll second the amendment for the purposes of discussion.
Okay, we have an amendment and a second, so we're gonna have discussion just on the amendment. And just as, I'm gonna go to the attorney in a second, but I think this is a substantive change. And it would have to go, but if the amendment passes tonight, we couldn't pass the ordinance. It would have to go back to committee, but I'm going to defer to legal before I open it up for discussion on the amendment that's before us.
Yes, the council president's accurate. If this amendment is approved by the council, it's a substantive amendment. It essentially begins the process of referring this as if it were new business back to the committee so that it can be heard again.
Thank you. Do any of the council members need that amendment to be reread before we go into discussion? See some shaking their head. Madam Clerk, do you have that in front of you? Can you read that into the record, please?
Section A, after the keeping of any roosters is strictly prohibited. And then the amendment would be except for the following: 1, activities protected by the Rights to Farm Act codified in Rhode Island General Law, Section 2-23-1, ETSEQ, and 2, for non-designated farms that are owner occupied in a minimum of 2 acres, a single rooster shall be allowed on the condition that said rooster be contained within a fenced area, house or coop that is at least 150 feet from the nearest property line and at least 250 feet from the nearest neighboring residential house. And B, this provision of this section shall be strictly enforced.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we have an amendment and a motion and a second on that. So for discussion on the amendment only. Who would like to go first? Councilmember Riley.
Thank you. I respectfully not going to be able to support the amendment. I've found in looking through our code that there are a lot of ordinances that are just multi-layered exceptions, and they just get so watered down, nobody knows what the law is. This is straightforward. I think some of the people that spoke tonight would certainly disagree that a rooster being 150 feet away does not bother them. These are animals. They are on farms. They don't belong in residential settings, in my opinion. And again, that's just my humble opinion. They belong on farms. If you want one, then have a farm. Otherwise, it's a novelty. There's no actual need that's been presented through any of the testimony or any of the discussions that shows that someone has a need for a rooster. Someone could want any other animal. And I mean, we could get out into the weeds about animals. This is a farm animal. If you fit into the confines of a farm under the act, that's wonderful. If not, this is a residential community. I do understand and respect that the people in the Western Cranston area enjoy the rural feel, and that's a beautiful part of our society. However, there's the feel of that, and there's actually being a farm, and there are differences. So the novelty of it, I don't support it. I think we've heard from enough people who have been bothered in in close neighboring communities, as well as in Western Cranston. So, as well as the issues about, the bird feeders and all that. This isn't the chicken ordinance. This is just roosters. They are completely different in my mind. I've looked at them both, and so I can't support the amendment, but do support the overall ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Ferry.
I'll be really quick. I personally have never gotten a phone call from anyone that has had a problem with a rooster, but I absolutely sympathize with the people that have testified. And I do not think that roosters belong in a setting like in Edgewood or in Mashantucket Lake or off of Pontiac Avenue. But I do feel that if we pass the ordinance as it was written, we're taking it away from people that do own 2 acres in Western Cranston that may have a right to do that. So as I stated at the last meeting, I think we're rushing into this and not making the right decision and not handling the entire thing. So I support the amendment at this time because it'll take the roosters away from and it'll give have acreage a chance to have a rooster, follow the rules as written. But again, I still think we're rushing into this.
Thank you. Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. I agree with, or I share many of the sentiments that my colleague, Vice President, Councilman Ferry just stated. As I said, the last time this came up, I too think that this seems rushed a little bit, and not that the intentions of the original sponsor are in any way ill. They're trying to resolve an issue that constituents have brought up, and it's a legitimate concern for many people. Cranston is a large, diverse city, and I think to paint it with a single stroke of one brush, it's either or. I don't think it addresses the complexities of land use that we see in our city. And I think that the amendment, while I'm still back and forth on the ordinance, if it were to be amended as such, I'm still back and forth on, I think it gets us closer to addressing some of those intricacies that we see within the city, and it gets it closer to a more comprehensive approach. I still think that roosters should be handled, chickens, hens, roosters should all be handled in one ordinance, and make it clear in that. But I think as a standalone, I think the amendment helps. And I also think that then the ability to take another look at it also helps. It's not to delay roosters getting a rooster issue getting addressed. It's to make sure that we address it correctly. So I would support the amendment.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. I think that the amended language presented before us this evening, pretty much kind of echoing what Councilmember Ferry said, and this is just a question to Councilmember Marino, just to make sure that I'm also understanding it correctly, is that with this amendment before us this evening, it's really for an 880, and for anyone who has 2 acres. And as a representative of Ward 1, I could be really wrong on this, but I don't really foresee having I don't see a lot of residential owners with at least 2 acres in that area. So with this amendment, I know that I received so far, a constituent with the concern of a rooster in Ward 1 with the loud noise. So with this amendment before us, it would then, they would not be able to have a rooster in Ward 1, correct? At least in Ward 1, because it has to be at least 2 acres. And obviously it has to be contained where it has to be at least 150 feet from the property line, from a property line, correct? Or and 250 feet from a residential house, right? Maybe from their neighbor, and that's the nearest house. And that's maybe just less than half maybe, or just about half of a football field, right? Or so, just for a visual. Football field's 350, right? 300, okay,
360, yeah.
300, so almost, so that's quite a distance on my end. So I would be supporting that amendment on that end. I think doesn't solve everyone's problem. We're never going to solve everyone's problem. But the fact that we still have the Rights to Farm Act in this ordinance and adding that amendment to it, I would be supportive of that amendment that's before us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion from council members? Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilman Marino, for bringing this amendment, because I had an issue because you stated well, we all agree that roosters do not belong in the urban setting. We agree with that. But at the same time, we have to be mindful for other people who have the capacity. So you address this capacity other people has where there will no burden of nuisance. So that's why I will support this amendment to the ordinance. And thank you, because frankly, one size cannot fit all. And this amendment just, to not solve the whole problem, because I still have an issue. We do not know how we're going to enforce it. We don't have the language, so I would love to see the language of enforcement for the ordinance. We do not have it, so I hope we can work on that and bring it forward. I will be supporting of the amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Renzulli. Does anybody else have any discussion?
Where is this? Someone mentioned the decibels of roosters earlier, and I just want to read something. A rooster's crow is so loud it can deafen you if you stand too close. To find this out, researchers attached recorders to the heads of 3 roosters just below the base of their skulls. Crows lasted 1 to 2 seconds and averaged more than 130 decibels. That's about the same intensity as standing 15 meters away from a jet taking off. One rooster's crow reached more than 143 decibels, which is more like standing in the middle of an active aircraft carrier. So obviously, we're not standing next to roosters, but some people are hearing this very loud. It would be a problem if it was a dog. It would be a problem if it was music at a party. It would be a problem if it's, a gun. So this is a problem, and we may not be able to solve all the problems for chickens tonight, but we can solve this problem by passing this ordinance. And I don't understand why everyone keeps going back to a comprehensive ordinance, because there's multi-layers of problems. And I have the ordinance from 2012 in front of me. And it says right in it, no person shall keep or raise any rooster. So unless I am missing some kind of an attachment, I don't see any language where you can have a rooster if you're on 2 acres of land, for example. So I am leaving this as is, and I hope that you will pass it tonight so that these people who can't sleep and who have been going through this for years can get some peace and quiet on their own property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion before I go? Councilmember Campopiano.
First, I want to apologize to Councilwoman Renzulli for speaking after her, but I have to echo her sentiments, and also Councilman Riley. I have received several calls from my constituents, and the harassment has to stop. I have A80 in my property, 4.5 acres, and it's only 200 feet wide or 230 feet wide. So being A80 in that dimensions, it's really a non-issue. It's close. So I won't support it either. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I think everybody has spoken, so I'll say my piece. I will be voting against this amendment tonight. I don't think there's a lot of A80 in Ward 5, but there certainly is A80 on Pippin Orchard Road. In Alpine Estates, there is A80 where their house is built. There is A80 all around Alpine Estates. There's A80 near Comstock Parkway. So I really think it creates a rooster loophole, specifically in the western part of the city, to allow the nuisance to continue to happen. So I'll be voting against the amendment. That being said, Madam Clerk, please take the roll on the amendment.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
No.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano,
No.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
No. Madam Clerk, did the amendment pass?
Motion passed 5-4.
Okay, the amendment did pass, so I'll need a motion to send this back to the ordinance committee for a hearing next month, this amended ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
No.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campopiano,
No.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
No. Motion passes. The ordinance is sent back to committee. Councilmember Riley, the floor is still yours.
Thank you, Council President. Next, we have ordinance 9-21-05, the Administration and Personnel Juvenile Hearing Board, sponsored by Council President Paplaskas. This passed the ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage.
Thank
I
you.
will entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan. Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
And lastly, we have, oh, I'm sorry, not lastly, we have ordinance 9-21-07, health and safety cemeteries, sponsored by Councilwoman Vargas and Council President Paplaskas. This passed the ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second under discussion. I'm gonna let the sponsor go first and then I'll go to you to the administration. Councilmember Vargas,
Sure, thank you. I'll defer to the administration.
there you go. Director Moretti, the floor is yours.
Just on this, there's a lot of language in here. And I guess we have some questions and possibly some clarification. Very minor point on line 114. I believe that's a typo, just the actually article 8.01, probably 040, very minor, but technical. Okay. And also on lines 123 and 124, it says the city shall have supervisory control over the 123 and 124. It says the city shall have supervisory control over the construction. I've been tested for COVID. It's an old-fashioned cold. It's about 10 days old. Sorry about that. The city doesn't supervise construction. We issue, permits and inspect properties. So I'm not sure if you want to leave it as such or not. And then line 143. In the middle, it says other organization as trustee for the persons as directed by the city. I guess it's a financial transaction, so we just kind of question if the city should be directing that. Yes, yeah. Okay, it indicates in there the organization. It kind of read a little before that, but it's a long sentence, like a 14, 15 line sentence, so it's kind of hard to figure out, frankly. But in the middle there at line 143, it says that the city will direct it's referring to a financial transaction. And there's just a concern about that. I'm not sure if the city should be. So just to put out there. In that entire paragraph, as we mentioned, it's like frankly, I don't understand the whole paragraph. It's 14 lines for one sentence. So I guess it's kind of a bit confusing. Just want to make that observation. There's a few things. Lines 159 and 160. Yeah, 159 and 160. It refers to making the agency seeking to undertake the improvement or construction shall make and file plans compliant with this chapter with the city clerk. I guess the question would be, is that the body you want to submit the compliance to? And also secure the approval of the city. Is the clerk going to be approving that? I guess there's some vagueness in there. And then again, lines 164 and 165. It says that towards the end of 164, it says the city shall have supervisory control over the construction again. Not sure if the city should be involved in the construction. And skipping to 225 and 226. Well, 224, to all private cemeteries which are not considered abandoned shall file on an annual basis, submit a filing with the city clerk of the financial condition and status of the cemetery. I guess the city could accept those. The city clerk could accept the financial reports, but not knowing what to do with them, I guess. And then on lines 240, then it's saying the city clerk shall review the filings and provide notice to the council. Indicate that if there were insufficient revenues to meet budget. I don't think that's the body, that department would have enough knowledge, nor do I think this, frankly, most any department would have an analytical ability to make that judgment call. And I guess the last thing is 299 remedy for violations. Well, then it leads into 301 and 302. The city shall have the authority to take all appropriate legal actions. I guess, could we indicate what department? Is that the city clerk? Whether it be inspections, the solicitor's office, just some vagueness in this. So these were several points after looking into it further that, sorry to say this last minute during the council meeting, but wanted to just bring it.
No, that's fine. We
these
can go
issues.
over each and every one if you'd like. But I do want to make sure that you are clear and understanding that I did submit this to the administration in, I believe, June. I met with you. I met with the mayor. I also talked to the city solicitor. I emailed a few times asking for follow-up recommendations, questions to work with the administration on this, and it was crickets. So the fact that you're here before me after it's come out of committee, as opposed to even reaching out before it even went out, before it came to us in committee or after it came out to committee, I have no words first to say because I reach out to you when I have questions on certain things. You stand here before me, before us as a council, and you were here a few months ago saying how there's no communication. I communicate with your office so many times on different issues. But on this particular cemetery issue that I have asked the administration to work together on this months after months, and there's been no response whatsoever from the administration, then you wait for this to come out of committee and then come before the entire city council on this issue is appalling. Because I reach out to the administration when I have questions on certain issues. And I think it's a two-way street, as that's been told here on the city council floor in the past. And that two-way street didn't come up from the administration recently if they had questions about this. Now, I'm more than happy to answer questions on this information that's before us, on this ordinance before the city council. And truthfully, some of the language even on here is even coming on the state Rhode Island general laws that we've been copied on the financial side. Now, we'll also defer to our city council solicitor on here, but I cannot express enough how disgusted I am. The fact you did not reach out to me, the administration, the mayor's office, or anyone from your administration reach out to me prior to today, even before it came before the ordinance, so between the ordinance and the city council, to ask me about all these questions that you have. You're here before us and you're asking, and I can go ahead and deliver and be able to respond to you. But at the very same time, you have my contact information, and the very same way you contact me or the mayor will text me to say, we're doing this update in Edgewood, I would have appreciated a phone call at the very same time, as opposed to just saying, you have a run-on sentence, or what about this issue? Because the administration has been having this for far too long, and I've been asking to work together. Because did I or did I not, or did we not meet regarding the cemetery, that I actually ended up even emailing the mayor and yourself, and I think the city solicitor, this information before us. Now, I don't get a response back at all, other than we'll work on it, we're reviewing it, we'll look at it, but I didn't get a response. And despite the fact that we didn't get a response, I ended up introducing this, and maybe there's additional sentences or perhaps, you know, maybe not every I or T's perhaps you think are crossed on here, but you had enough time to also reach out to me. I would have loved to work with you. Now, that being said, I'll also defer to our city council solicitor on this as well. But before I do, actually, I apologize. This issue, obviously, I hope that the administration understands the point on the cemetery issue. I apologize for having my mask on. But obviously, I think we can all say that this is a ordinance that's coming before us to address cemeteries that are either in existence today, that are both in existence today, and in avoiding or helping from becoming neglected or prevent them from becoming blighted, right? Particularly private, not historical cemeteries, not religious grounds, not the city-owned cemeteries as well. We have well over 160 cemeteries. So the idea here is that we all are able to work together, that if you are having construction plans or trying to build one at all, you know, that they come before the city, just like zoning. When somebody's building anything, they're coming before zoning or planning, whether it's a mausoleum, whether it's a new burial ground at all. And the perpetual care as well of both cemeteries and mausoleums, which is part of the Rhode Island general laws at the very same time. Same thing with the financial part of it. So our solicitor can go from there as well. If there's any questions that perhaps I can explain a few others, but I wanted to make sure that on the financial part of it, which is the line 40, I believe, that will start from that area. I believe that's also coming in on the state side as well. And go from that end. But yeah, the city clerk's office as well would be and I'm open, whether it's the city clerk's office, another office, would be taking this information from private cemeteries and recording them. Their financial, say, component of it, but mostly their plot, right? Who's buried where, a map of it. It would also keep the private cemeteries accountable, and then be able to register that as well if there was some sort of issue coming down the line on the plotting on who's buried where. Is there enough space in an acre? If there's less than 25 plots left, we would obviously know to avoid any type of Department of Health, I guess, hazards or so forth. I mean, go ahead.
No, it's all good. I'm going to pass the mic to our solicitor in a second for an opinion. But I think tonight really stresses the point that, you know, these items really should come up in committee. So we're not here tonight and trying to do this on the fly. I think as far as the Scrivener's errors or the punctuation with the run-on sentence, I think that can be fixed once this thing gets passed, if it gets passed. And honestly, I would urge passage tonight. We can try to fix some of the things, but this really isn't the time or the place to go through an ordinance like this when it did go to committee. So I'm going to pass it to the solicitor now to answer the councilwoman's questions.
To answer your questions, Councilwoman, I mean, the ordinance can be passed tonight as is and amended for Scrivener's errors at a later date. Or the council can choose to hold it and take the list of concerns as pointed out by the administration under advisement and rework the ordinance. It's really at the pleasure of the council.
Thank you, Solicitor. I'm going to defer to the main sponsor on this. I co-sponsored it with Councilwoman Vargas, but she really took the lead on this. So Councilwoman, if you want to try to go through all these one by one, if you want to continue it, if you want, I'm open to either way.
If I would really like to pass this evening. I know it's 9 o'clock and we have a couple of other things to go over. But
Councilman, we
What
could
I'll
always
do-
pass it and make amendments next month, submit it as new business.
give me 1 second, I'm just thinking on I'm strategically thinking. Sorry. What I'll do is, if this passes this evening and we are able to do some of the changes, would it have to then come back again at all? I mean, it would pass the council, but then we make changes. Can you just walk me through that process once again? At the next city council meeting, or it wouldn't have to be referred back to committee?
As long as it's a Scrivener's error, yes.
All right, then, and that,
Substantive changes would have to go back to committee, but I didn't hear substantive changes, so we'd have to see what they are.
okay, so if that is the case, then I will ask, and if it does not pass out of the council this evening, it obviously fails at that point, correct? So what I will do is, given the fact that you're saying it's not substance and it could be errors that could be clarified, I'll request respectfully that this pass so that we can address the issues on the line items that were noted on here, and have it then go for the full vote tonight and see what happens at that point. So I'm gonna go based on even the advice of our legal counsel, and I'll go and have it pass this evening. Hopefully it passes, and go from there. But this is something that's extremely important that's coming before us. And I'd be happy to provide those, that language fixed, edited for the next city council meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Do we need to amend that? No. Okay, the motion and second that is on the floor is okay to move forward. Director, ready?
Just a comment.
Sure, absolutely.
As much as I've been vocal about issues, I fundamentally agree with Councilwoman Vargas. She took the lead on this early on. I think this is a failure on behalf of the administration not to address it to you sooner. I'll take the hit for it. Unfortunately, very little do I delegate in that office, frankly, when it comes to significant issues. I blew it. I delegated this one. And I'll take responsibility for that. But I also felt compelled that I felt there were some holes that I needed to speak up at the council. So I agree with you. I understand you were extremely conscientious about this. Issues we agree upon, we've seen, it's deplorable. And I commend you for this, but I also says, yes, I accept responsibility that the administration failed on this one to communicate better.
Well, good thing,
Thank-
everything's fixable. Councilmember Vargas.
I was going to say, thank you. At the end of one of you to the administration, I'm here to be all ears, work together at the same time. If you have suggestions, have ideas, I'm glad to, more than welcome to work with you on issues. Make mistakes at the same time, but then this is one in particular that I'm not going to be redundant, but I really wish we would have been able to address much sooner, not this evening. So
I
you don't have
agree.
to take
I
the hit,
agree
but
and-
thank you.
and fundamentally agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Who had their hand up first? Councilmember Jermaine, did you have your hand up before? Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. I think, I don't know, I'm a little bit confused. Do we have an amendment on the motion, or I don't know what we will fix as of now, because I feel I'm confused. Do we fix some grammatical errors, or what is the issue? I don't know.
think
Can
the-
someone tell me?
I think the grammar errors or the Scrivener's errors can be fixed after, because it's not substantive. We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance that's in front of us. There are no amendments.
So
to that.
we just need passage.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second for a motion to approve in front of us now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Renzulli.
Thank you. I just want to say that I know that Councilwoman Vargas has been working diligently on this. And Senator Joshua Miller was here at the ordinance meeting and also, commended this as it's gone further and was more comprehensive than what the state has tried to pass. So I would be in support of this tonight, and any kind of Scrivener errors that could be fixed after. I think it's important sometimes that we solve problems immediately instead of send them back, to committee and take forever. So I'll be in support of this today, regardless of any kind of grammatical errors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to commend Councilwoman Vargas for all of her hard work on this ordinance, the time that she put into this. I too have heard from residents, in particular in the area of Ward 1, that have experienced some cemetery issues, and this is very welcome, and I would be in support of approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Councilman Riley, you have one more item on here, and I'm not sure if we've gotten the traffic study yet on this.
Okay, so this is ordinance 9-21-08. The motor vehicle and traffic multi-way stop sponsored by Councilman Ferry and Councilwoman Marino. This was passed subject to a traffic study by the ordinance committee and is before us tonight for passage.
Okay, before I ask for a motion, Madam Clerk, do we get a traffic study on this ordinance yet?
I haven't received it, no.
Okay, can we send this back to committee for one more month to give him the allotted 60 days? The traffic engineer sponsors okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion to send 9-21-08 back to committee pending
moved.
for the traffic study.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Riley. That concludes the ordinance committee. Moving on to the claims committee.
Thank you, Council President. The claims on the docket this evening are here for informational purposes only. No votes will be taken this evening on these items.
Thank you very much, Chairman Donegan. Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to take the docket out of order. I see the Chairman of the Board of Canvassers, Randall Jackvoni, and our canvassing director, Mr. Lima, patiently waiting, and they have a brief presentation to give us tonight. So I'd like to try to bring them up now if I can. So I need a motion to take the docket. out of
Motion to take the docket out of order.
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, so we're going to jump ahead just a short bit to report of city officers, status report from the Cranston Redistricting Commission. Gentlemen, I just want to thank you all for sitting here through the last couple of hours. I know you've both done it many times in the past, and we appreciate that and all your hard work. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just push the button so the green light comes on.
Green light is on.
It's on?
It was on, yeah.
All right.
Randall Jackvoni, 2219 Phoenix Avenue, as mentioned. Thank you, first of all, for moving this up in the agenda. I am the chairman of the Board of Canvassers, as well as the chairman of the Redistricting Committee. And I just have a brief update for you tonight, as does Mr. Lima. But before I do give you our status update, I just want to preface my remarks by just commending Mr. Lima and Maria Giarusso. Without their help, they have done a tremendous job. Mr. Lima in terms of organization, and Ms. Giarusso in terms of the maps and how quickly she's able to provide us information that has made the process very smooth. And we are far ahead of any community in Rhode Island with our process because of their hard work. So I just want to recognize that publicly. But briefly, as a status, we've met as a committee on multiple times, primarily to start to decide what our approach is going to be to the process, to review potential options. We've revised maps, we've reviewed maps, and we've given multiple opportunities for the public to comment on those maps. I know a lot of the council members as well have availed themselves to come into the canvassing office to review those maps, and we continue to encourage members of the public and the council members to stay engaged in that process. So we've been focused to make sure that we're using the natural features and roads, major roads in the city to draw our lines, trying to keep neighborhoods together as best as possible, and avoiding pocket precincts, which are abnormally small precincts of or sets of voters. This certainly can be a challenge because we're trying to keep all the wards even in terms of numbers, or roughly even. But we've come down to, I can't remember what we're calling it, maybe item 1B or 1C, but we've come down to a map that we believe does capture these. And I know some of you have seen that. So, and again, this process was made smooth thanks to Ms. Giarusso, Mr. Lima. So thank you for your time. And I know Mr. Lima has a few comments just to give you a little bit more in terms of details. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackvoni. Mr. Lima, I don't think we've seen you since your budget presentation, and we're still trying to catch up on sleep. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President and members of the council. I will be uncharacteristically brief. Beyond the cover letter in the report that's attached to the docket, there's a number of statistics and information here, which I have shared with you all, but I just want to make sure it's on the record as well, because I think it's important demographic changes for the city of Cranston that the Redistricting Commission is currently working with in the terms of developing maps. We do have a scenario right now, as Chairman Jackvoni mentioned, scenario A1. That's just the starting point really for us. We're basically in a holding pattern. We're waiting for the state's Redistricting Commission, which actually was meeting tonight in Bristol to do its work. The state will have maps out. They're expecting by mid-November. Once those maps are out, we're gonna have a good opportunity to look at them, to, as a city, provide comment on those maps as to how they impact Cranston's plans. And then hopefully the state and the General Assembly will fully complete their process by mid-February. That will allow the Cranston Redistricting Commission to then complete its work, draft, and then submit a final report, which will be a lengthy, detailed report that will be given to the City Council, ideally in late February or early March of 2022. Then at that time, the council itself, by ordinance, will draft its final redistricting plan, hold another set of public hearings and comment, and then ideally get that passed and sent to the mayor's desk no later than April or late April of 2022. That will allow the Board of Canvassers at the same time, concurrently with that, to draw its precinct map of the city, to establish the variety of polling places that will be needed for the 2022 elections and elections for the next 10 years, and to get a notice out, a postcard, which will be mailed to all 60,000 Cranston voters, letting them know the new polling place, the new ward, and the new voting districts. All has to be done before candidate declaration, which of course happens in June. So it's a tight timeline from here on out. But as Chairman Jackvoni said, we are ahead of the curve at the moment. We want to stay there. But now we're getting to a point where we're accepting continued public comment, continued public feedback. There's not a whole lot the Redistricting Commission can do here for the next few months, aside from continue to accept public comment and monitor what the state is doing. We're at a point where I think the commission members are comfortable where we are. We've done all the groundwork, the laying the foundations that we can. And part of that groundwork was analyzing the census data that came out in August. So in your packet, I'll very quickly just go over a couple of these numbers. Page 2 of the report, the redistricting population targets for the city. So that establishes the city's population as 82,934, now the second largest city officially in the state of Rhode Island, surpassing the city of Warwick. That page also shows the changes in population from 2010 to 2020. And you can see Ward 1 grew the most with an 8% increase. That's over nearly actually 1,100 new residents counted by the Census Bureau in Ward 1. Ward 3 had the second most growth, near 5% increase at 630 residents. Ward 6 had a slight population decrease, about 3.5% or 500 residents. I'll explain that in just a moment. So if you look at our target population, which is also on that sheet, it's 13,822. That'd be an exact even number dispersed amongst the 6 wards, which is the goal of the commission and ultimately the council as well, to come up with a plan that has an even population distribution around the city. Ward 1 is the only ward presently that's well outside of that. It's not actually well outside, it's slightly outside of that deviation with 743 residents. So because of that, the maps as they currently are cannot stand into 2022 and beyond. They have to be altered. And anytime you have a redistricting plan, what's important to note is that any change you make in one area has a domino effect. It will change other areas of the city. The commission has looked at neighborhoods, it's looked at communities of interest, has looked at historical maps going back the last 120 years, and has also identified some other areas, particularly areas that were drawn in the 2012 redistricting process that broke up some neighborhoods, that used small streets, side streets as ward lines, which effectively serve to isolate communities or break up communities in an unfavorable way. So in addition to applying these population changes to the political map of the city, the commission is also trying to restore some of those neighborhood boundaries as part of this process and ultimately as part of the final plan that the commission will submit to the council for its consideration. The next page, page 3, is just a population changes by census tract. There's a map in this packet. The maps are pretty large file sizes. You can zoom in on them, so it might take a little trouble loading on a cell phone. But this lines up with a map that's later in the packet, so you can see the population shifts in the city from 10 years ago to now. Page 4 is the increase in Hispanic and Latino origin population as counted by the census. And that's a remarkable number. A 73% increase in the city of Cranston, a growth in population in 2010 from 8,709 to 2020 of 15,067. There's additional statistics again, it's broken down by census tract. The next page is a summary of all the group quarters data for the city. The group quarters data shows in particular the inmates at the ACI, and that's why you see a population decrease in Ward 6. There are roughly 1,000 fewer prisoners at the ACI in 2020 as there were in 2010. They think the ACI saw a population decrease of roughly a third in that span of time, and that of course affects the overall population for Ward 6. Page 6 shows some other breakdowns of different ethnic and racial groups within the city of Cranston. In particular, the Asian population of the city had a nearly 40% growth rate from 4,150 residents to nearly 5,800. The Black and African American community of the city saw a nearly 11% growth rate from 4,200 residents to 4,680. But the most striking of all these numbers, and this I think is attributed in part to how the census changed its operations in 2020. They gave respondents more space to answer questions in a way that made them more comfortable, and as a result, yielded more accurate results. So the top of this page, there's a population of 2 or more races. So those identifying themselves as multiracial is a 232% increase. That's from 2,140 to 7,100 in the last 10-year span. So that's the highlights of this report. The next several pages of the report are the population breakdowns for each ward, each precinct, as they currently are with the 2012 plan, as well as what they could be if we adopted this scenario A1 plan tomorrow, which of course we can't because we're still waiting on the state lines at this point. These redistricting reports are important for the council to understand and be aware of. They include not just the racial and ethnic breakdowns, but also the voters in each ward. Because while we have to consider total population for the city, we also have to consider on the Board of Canvassers side, the voting population of each precinct. Under current state law, no precinct can have more than 3,000 registered voters. And it's according to the state law, it's supposed to have no fewer than 500, although the State Redistricting Commission has more flexibility there. So these reports are important because while we will have maps the City Council ultimately is considering, each map will have this report generated for it and will be attached to each map. And they all actually are publicly available on our redistricting portal on the city website. Beyond those two reports for the current plan and Plan A1, you also have in front of you several maps. The first is the neighborhood and communities of interest map that was developed by the commission through its work and public hearings over the summer. The second map goes with that third page of this report, which is the census tract population changes from 2010 to 2020, visualized in map form. And then the next three maps are the current 2012 scenario maps. And then additionally, the actual plan, scenario plan A1, both a clean version of that and a version that has shaded areas that show which areas of the city the commission has looked at for modifying in this particular plan. Residents of the city are welcome to give comment and feedback by emailing us at canvassing@cranstonri.org or calling our office. They're welcome to attend future hearings. There are no meetings scheduled presently, but there will be additional meetings and opportunities for public comment, including full-scale public hearings in the new year. And they're even welcome to send in their own draft maps if they'd like to submit a map as well. There's a free tool, a public tool that's available at no cost to the city called District R, in which in a matter of minutes, someone could actually draw a map, download the data and submit those data files for us. And we're always happy to include any kind of public comment submitted like that up on the city website so people can see that, compare it to the maps that are under consideration by the commission. The final 10 or 11 pages of the report are just small snippets of what is actually being changed from 2010 to 2020. You can see how much population is being shifted in particular areas of the city, to zoom in on those areas to see what streets are impacted. And of course, the commission has actually discussed the rationale for each of those changes on the record. And when you have your final report from the commission in the spring, that report will detail any changes made to the city and why they were made and what rationale was used in that process. So I told you I'd keep it brief. I want to hold myself to that promise, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the council, as would be Mr. Giacofone.
Thank you, Registrar Lima. Thank you for keeping it brief. Any questions or comments from the council? There being none, thank you very much. Thank you for always being available. I'm sure if anybody needs to follow up, they will.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Giacofone. All right, moving back to the docket, we have public comment for undocketed items. If you are on Zoom, press *9 or raise your hand for comment on undocketed items.
See no public comment.
Okay, in here, I don't see anyone. So I will close public comment for undocketed items. Moving on to election and or appointment of city officials. We have the Juvenile Hearing Board. This is for a reappointment of Pam Schiff for a term ending December 1st, 2024. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplas.
Yes. Next, we have Zoning Board of Review, appointment of Douglas R. Fredette as second alternate member of the Zoning Board for a term ending October 25th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplas.
Yes. Next up, we have a Diversity Commission. This is a council president appointment. The appointment of Derek Tutt for a term ending January 2nd, 2023. No votes need to be taken. Next up, we have the Historic Cemeteries Commission, appointment of Paul Tagnetti as an alternate member for a term expiring on October 25th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion.
And to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? What's that? Oh, no vote will need to be taken. Thank you. Moving on to report of city officers. We just finished that. Going to executive communications. Legal expense analysis for 7/1/2021 to October 25th, 2021. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Donegan?
Thank you. On page 2, under, I apologize, I just lost my, yes, on page 2, under DeSisto law, there's, never mind.
Good,
Misread it.
Councilmember.
I apologize.
All right. Any other questions? There being none, we'll move on to a request to be continued in service. Or, you know what, I'm going to let Director Moretti read that. Unless you want me to read it. It's a request to be continued in service for 1 year, Major Robert Quirk Cranston Police Department. Director?
Yes, just to inform you that Major Quirk has fulfilled his requirements to continue service, and it's recommended certainly that you retain Major Quirk.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to continue service, Major Quirk.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you. I definitely have no objections whatsoever on this request, but just for those that are on the, whether they watch the city council meeting later on, or those watching also for education purposes, just because I have been asked, what is it, what does this mean when a request to be continued for another 1 year service mean? I personally know what it means based on our based on their year, their birthday, and the fact that they're probably on the old pension, and not too many of them are still on there, but I'd rather have the members of our community hear it from the administration and clarification.
Sure. Fundamentally, it's obviously, given his record on the, as a performance record on the police department is essential, but then also his ability for physical exams to be able to physically continue to do the job. So it's a combination quality of performance, his record, and his physical ability to do it.
Thank you. And this is for police and fire overall when someone requests to be on, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And correct. You hit a certain age. He's a young, whatever he is, Major Quirk is.
So how you feel? Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, congratulations, Major Quirk. Moving on to Council President Communications. I just want to say that today was a great day for not only the city, but for Knightsville. The city was presented with a $10,000 legislative grant to help with the restoration going on, or that will be starting in Knightsville, particularly the gazebo, which is in a very bad state, especially the decking. So I look forward to work starting in Knightsville. It means a lot to the community and for Cranston. And I said it today during the speech. Just want to thank the administration and Mayor Hopkins for making not only Knightsville, but Ralph Street and Edgewood. And we've had a lot of areas of the city that work's been being done. And it's been great to see the construction and the change that's been happening. So thank you very much for that. Also want to update the council, let you know that we're going to have a special night just for executive sessions. I know we mentioned that last month, but we're looking to do it maybe around the 17th or that week. Just want to make sure that no one's using council chambers. So we have a few legal matters that we're going to discuss that night, but try to keep the 17th open if you can for a special night. Moving on, under council member communications, Council Vice President Ferry, you have 5 bullets. The floor is
Okay.
yours.
I'll be brief with this. To spare you the time that you had to spend here tonight to get to this. If you, in June, I had asked to have regular economic development updates. And Director Moretti agreed that every few months, that would be something that would be feasible. So in the event that you could give us updates either through email or at meetings, these questions could be answered without you having to sit here for 3 hours waiting for us to get to this point in the meeting. But there are 5 topics on there that I personally think that the council would like to be communicated with in knowing what the status is. You know, do we have any economic development updates? What's the update on Topgolf? Any recent accomplishments with economic development? And we've heard that Costco is still coming to Cranston. Is that a fact? Is that true? Is it a rumor? You know, we would like those questions answered, you know, without having to call the office, all 9 of us, and ask that question. So if you could please just communicate with us on a regular basis, every couple of months, of what's going on economic development wise in the city, this would not be necessary to be on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I see Director Paulino here. If you have an update, and you feel free. Thank you for being here tonight, Director. And then just push the button for the microphone to come on, so everybody at home can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening, President of the Council and member of the Council. My name is Franklin Polino, and I'm the Director of Economic Development. Just to give you a little highlight of what our department does in economic development. The mission of the Division of Economic Development is to enhance the city of Cranston quality of life through the creation and preservation of healthy business. Our mission is accomplished by achieving, maintaining, and partnering with companies that are relating or expanding to Cranston. Local companies that are expanding or starting up on Cranston company that are working to retain jobs. The role of economic is to promote business in the community. Also business retention, expansion, business creation, business attraction, establish relationship, build network, and generate resource to meet the needs of a business. Our goal is to increase economic viability in our community, network existing business, and conducting business visitation. And also creating and implementing marketing strategy and administering and managing revolving loans. Currently, the economic development update, we are working with 2 grants. One is for $1,000, which is the PPE. And that's an example of that is a disposable glove, tissues, paper towel, not touch, trash can, hand soap, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant. What we do is we are reimbursing the small business that have bought those supplies to come back the pandemic. So we are giving $1,000 reimbursement. Also, we also have another grant for $2,500. That's the one that we're currently working. And those are for business to acquire, convert, construct, and reconstruct commercial space. And also working capital to support job creation and retention. An update, recent economic development accomplishment. We had a company in called Greenfall Biomat. It's a plasma blood center. It's a new job creation. They have up to 40 employees with an investment of $3.5 million in Garfield Plaza. We also had a new company that came in, is Nautilus Solar Farm on the old landfill. And that one will provide up to energy for 500 homes to low to moderate income household. We also finishing up Ross Square, and we're working on that. And on November 11, we having the parade, the Veterans Parade, from 10 to 12 p.m. We also finishing up Patuxent Village. We have repaved Broad Street from the bridge all the way north to Ocean Avenue. And today we are going to be moving to Knightsville. We received a $10,000 grant from the state legislature, and we're gonna continue on working on Knightsville. A little update on business that have come into the city of Cranston. So far, the mayor has done 22 ribbon cutting since February, and that's throughout the city of Cranston. We're also in Garden City, we have like 8 new businesses that will be coming in. We had a ribbon cutting for Old Navy. Upcoming economic development plan, like I said before, we're working on Knightsville rehabilitation plan. And also we have a project on Comstock Parkway. It's a wash warehouse. It's a 16-acre project that's coming in, and that's will be coming in. We also have the Veterans Parade, like I said before, on Ross Square on November 11 from 10 to 12. That's what I have for now.
Thank you, Director Paulino. Just gonna see if any council members have questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Ferry, do you have any follow-up or?
Is Director Moretti going to finish? Thank you.
He'll answer the question you have for Costco, and yes.
Yes, just to embellish Director Paulino's statements, realizing there's been also some, pardon me, there's activity, as you're aware of, regarding the trolley barn property on Cranston Street. That could be pretty exciting for that area. Tremendous project. That's probably one of the biggest since Chapel View would be potentially the Cranston Printworks project. I think that could be a pretty big one for the city, both in terms of economic, in terms of revitalizing that area. It looks like a sensational opportunity. Hopefully it comes to fruition. There's been some talk, as you know, concerning development in the Comstock Parkway area as a development that have to play out. We'll see where that goes. Mr. Paulino mentioned Garden City. That blood plasma harvesting company is something very intriguing in terms of their growth to just keep an eye on. And then also he did mention the innovative use of the solar, by putting a solar farm over the Capuano landfill. In fact, the governor was out there the other day. The kind of nice things happen. What we're trying to do is create that economic environment. Can't claim credit for bringing in all those things, but the offices have been very receptive, open, and responsive, to these businesses as best we can. As to a couple of projects you referred to, Councilman, Top Golf has been a moving target. Primarily, as you know, it's a Carpianato project property. That's been a state hospital that's tied up next to it, the old Davol building where I worked, and obviously Citizens. Right now, they're targeting first quarter for groundbreaking. That has shifted from, I'd say, this prior January, July, so it keeps moving. So I'm speaking with the people with the state actually, and to say when they're going to hand this thing over and cease use. We don't control that, and so unfortunately, that project is contingent upon each other. So, but right now they're looking towards first quarter to break ground for Top Golf. Costco, I asked the attorneys what I should say, what I couldn't say, because there is a lawsuit involved. They did recommend that I don't make a comment on Costco. I love to elaborate, but I've been informed not to for legal purposes.
So what is the holdup with Top Golf?
That property abuts and be part of if you picture the existing Citizens Bank building, part of that will come down and they'd be utilizing that, utilizing that area. So they need they need to raise some of that building in order to construct Top Golf. That's what we're told. But again, as you know, it turned into initially a vaccination center, then a hospital, but now a vaccination center, and hopefully we'll be in good shape for COVID and that will all go away. Okay.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councilmember Ferry. Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. I was wondering, approximately how many, do we have the numbers as to how many $2,500 grants have been given out?
Yes, on the 2,500, we have 7 so far. And we also have another grant there that's like 7,500. We have 5. And on the 1,000, we have 23 so far.
Council, I'm sorry, Director,
Mhm.
7,
Under 2,500?
under 2,500.
Yes, and 5 on the 7,500, and we have 21 on the 1,000.
So what's the total? I can do the math, but that would obviously give us the total sum of how many business grants are, have been handed out. I'll let the councilman keep going because I had a couple of questions on that under, but go ahead.
Oh,
And my question is too, is that including, that is all of this year and 2020 as well?
no, that's for this year, since I've been Director of Economic Development.
Okay. How much is left in the program for those funds available to the businesses? Do you know?
It comes from the community development. I believe we have like 600,000 on that, and they appropriated, I believe, 200,000 for our department.
And are you keeping like an electronic database as to which businesses these are being provided for with like contact information, et cetera?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
I don't have any other questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Do you want to stay on with Director Paulino, Councilmember Vargas?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I appreciate
Go
it. Thank
for it.
you, Council President, while Director is out. So,
Mhm.
so I wanted to actually ask about that update on the $2,500 city small business grant. So what are we doing to promote or to encourage, I guess, businesses to apply to that 25 or up to $2,500 grant?
Yeah, well, basically what we're doing, well, what I'm doing is I'm visiting all the business, for example, on Ross Square. Since we're doing that project, I will visit all the business and tell them about it. Also in Patuxent Village and Knightsville. We also have those grants on the website in which they can go in the website and they can apply, print it out and apply it. And we also have on the Facebook, on the economic development page, we have those grants.
Thank you.
Mhm.
When
Yes. Yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, but we have an issue with people applying, like getting, I will visit them, like for every one grant that I receive, I will visit like 8 or 9 business. But it's the process of those business applying for the grant.
What do you think is a difficulty? What do you think it's the common problem? What's the common denominator here between business that are applying and
The
encouraging?
common
to go through with
denominator
it?
is the bookkeeping and the receipt that they need for the guideline and to apply. They don't have the receipt. A lot of the individual is the bookkeeping and the issue with the accounting for them to get all the receipt so they could send it to us because we need documentation and we need proof for reimbursement. And that's one of the most difficult things that I'm seeing from the small business when I go visiting them.
Do you happen to know?
Yes, we have minority owned, especially in Ward 1 and Ward 3. We have business, nail salon, nails, so hair salon and those individuals. We do have, I would say, out of those, like 7 or 8 Hispanic that I go out and I speak to them and try to bring them in so they can apply. And
So-
I also have on the marketing, I have gone in the radio station in the Hispanic market and have told them about the grants that we have.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I know that I've obviously have sent you a few businesses as well that you've been able
Yes,
to go. So out of that $2,500 or up to $2,500, did you say that the city had $200,000?
That's what they appropriated from the economic development, because this is CDBG money. It comes from the CDBG, so it has come from the community development out of Tim Sansi.
All right. And so are you still working with, or are you working with Commerce RI at all on these funds coming in? And are we allocating any, and I'm not sure if this is a question for you or for Director Strom, any funds that are coming at the federal aid to this, or is that 2 separate things? It is 2 separate things. Okay.
Those are 2 separate things.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. While I have you up there, if Councilwoman Marino doesn't mind, I just had one question on the revolving loan. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So the $2,500 small business grant is separate and apart than the revolving loan fund program.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I had a few questions on that. So how, and that's up to $200,000 as well, correct?
No, on the revolving loan, we have $1.5 million on that.
And we have $1.5 million of that revolving loan, which is specifically for existing businesses or new businesses that are coming in, whether it's for their infrastructure or any type of other financial stabilization need on their end.
Yes,
And
that's
how
correct.
many have taken a loan so far out of, let's say, this fiscal year?
Okay, we have 2 current loan on the revolving loan. I don't have the exact amount on that, but there's only 2. We only have 2 at the moment. But this program has started since 1986. And it started with 600,000 from the CDBG, and then the city put $200,000. So currently, right now, we have 1.5 million.
Yep, no,
that.
I understand that part. Thank you so much for that. But those
Mhm.
2 current loans, are those for existing or new businesses coming to the city?
Existing business.
Okay. And on that same note, what is the interest rate on that revolving loan right now?
I believe it's 5%.
That's pretty.
But on the pandemic, there was those interests could have gone down on the
Business applying. These 2 loans that are being applied, the
5%. Those are 5%.
5%, huh?
Yes. Mhm.
That's pretty high for the current
Ye-
market, the way it
yeah, it's
was. And
kinda
it could be
high.
going up, so it varies.
Mhm.
Loan program out of. Filing with the sec.
There's a nine-member board. They usually will meet when we have an application and we submit it and to see for the approval. They are the one that approved the loan. We had one in, I believe in May. I believe so, yes. No, we're not. Just with the member of the committees in our office. Yeah, yes, it is. One thing that we're finding out is because there's so many grants out there,
business, they're not taking risk in taking out a loan because this is a loan. And also they have to have a collateral. If they apply for this loan, they need equity on whatever they're gonna put. And so that's where it stands. A lot
Would
of
we ever
people.
be at risk for
Huh?
losing? Would we be at risk at all? Is there a time cap that we would have to any given point because
No, there's no
situation in
cap,
general?
there's no cap on it. The money's been sitting there. We give out loans, but lately, this year, we only had like 3 applications so far.
What's the interest rate that we're accumulating on that money sitting there?
I have no, maybe.
So that 1.5 that's there, we would see that in next year's budget? Again, if it's not used, say?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right. Am I able to ask what the loan amount is for those 2 businesses?
It's up to $200,000. They could apply up to $200,000. No, not, well, they have prior business, they have applied and we have 100,000, there have been 200,000 prior. Not at this year. We had one that was for $200,000 and it was rejected. It was declined. Mhm. And also on those revolving loan, they have to be declined by 2 banks. So if they rejected by 2 banks, then they will come to us.
Okay. We are able to do, if not, I'm not saying you're not doing your job, but what else we can do to make sure that we are able to echo that availability of the small grant to the small businesses in general, and if there's any partnership with Commerce RI or anything along those lines.
Yes, I work closely with Stephen Pryor. And, it's just marketing. It's just telling people that we have the grant there and it's available and they could come and apply, to economic development because the money is there. So I just need to promote it more, get more business involved so we can help them.
Last question, I apologize, but if there is is there any criteria for a small business to qualify? They have to be existing business, right?
Yes, it's 16.
And, I mean, not starting up, not like
Yeah.
planning.
Well, one of the criteria is in the guideline is the gross income is $1 million, less than that. And also if they have 25 or less employee. Those are one of the criteria for the grant. And they have to have low to moderate income employees. If it will be 51% of the employee are low to moderate, they will qualify for that also. Those are some of the guidelines. And we go by HUD guidelines.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are we considering at all, this might be a question for finance or for the director, would we be considering whatsoever any type of funds that are coming in from the federal level to be applied or applicable or open up that criteria to businesses in the city of Cranston at all that perhaps don't meet those specific criteria and expand the opportunity to other businesses that are already in our city with like ARP money?
Mhm.
Okay. I like.
Mhm.
thank you so much. I'm good for today.
Thank you,
Anyone else?
Council Member Vargas. Councilmember Mazzulli, did you have your hand up, or
Mhm.
Councilmember Jermaine? Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I have something that is bothering me about, we have $1,000 for reimbursement.
Yes,
So the thing is, if the person has the money to spend already, there's no way to ask for it. So if we want to help the people to get, I don't understand why it has to be reimbursement. Why there's not a process where you can give the money upfront? Why the person, because for me, reimbursement, I don't know if I understanding wrong, but reimbursement is like you invest already, you spend the money, and afterward, and they give you the money.
well,
So
Council,
if it's that the criteria for a pandemic,
yeah.
you
well,
have the cash already to spend?
Yes, we do. This is money from the federal government, and there's guidelines, and we need documentation for it, and we need receipt. If they don't have the receipt, we cannot give that fund out. You know, we have the money, but they have to have the receipt of what they spent so we can reimburse them.
My question is,
Yes, it is the
Uh-huh.
federal rule.
so
And we-
this federal rules need to be changed.
And it-
How, my question, for example, you are in the pandemic, okay?
Mhm.
So there is no circulation, money. Now, you have expense, okay? So
Mhm.
you ask me, okay, I'm gonna help you, but you have to spend already your money.
Or if you were already spent, let me explain. We are at the stage of PPE, which is prevent, prepare, and response. So the personal protection equipment, that's what the grant is for $1,000. So if you bought those supplies, from March 2020 to the present, and if you have spent, on glove, mask, all those things, you have to have those receipts, because we're not just people just gonna walk, oh, I spent $1,000, and we're not gonna give them money like that. We need documentation. I have to follow the federal guidelines. There are guidelines that we go by, and each case is one. We go one by one on those cases. I will go and visit those places, and I will see what they have done, and they'll tell me, I did this and I did that, and they have the document. If they have the documentation, and one of the problems that we having is the bookkeeping they're having, and they don't have the receipt. A lot of them are cash business, and they say, oh, I bought, mask, I bought lights, so I bought disinfectant, but I don't have the receipt. I cannot do nothing.
I don't have, my problem is not because of the receipt. Everybody who buys something, you have to have a receipt. I agree with that part. My issue is how we can expand to help more people if the money is for helping people. So there should be another mechanism to help other people when you, for example, a small business who, we were closed. We couldn't have any people come in our business. And now you say, oh, I'm gonna help you. Now you ask me, okay, you need to spend first. So why I cannot, there is program, why I cannot make a list, this is what I need, okay? We have a plan, this is the needs I have, this is what it's gonna cost, and I present that to you, and then afterward we can review it, did you buy it? But
Well-
asking people to really, because I think that's why we do not have a lot of demand, because not every person has the money to spend upfront.
Yeah, if the guidelines will be loosened, it's no problem. I would love to, to give all the business money, but I have guidelines that I have to follow. And this is due to the pandemic, and this is to coronavirus. If you are using supply for the coronavirus, it's okay, but we need documentation. I cannot just go out and give money, to business like that. I need documentation. I need receipt. I tried everything to see how they could fall into the program. We have individuals that do it manual.
My point, Director, is not having documentation. I said this, the way this is built is make it harder for people to really benefit. That's what I'm saying. So I don't have any problem with documentation. You have to document. There's no go around that. Is guidance, federal guidance, but you when you went to the meetings, like, because you are an advocate for the businesses.
Yes, I am.
So you have to make it easy for them to participate, to benefit. And I think all those bureaucracy, all those paperwork make it harder for small businesses that do not, for example, people who really need it cannot even do it, because if they don't have the money upfront, you cannot spend it. So to buy things, you have to have the money. I know it's not your rules, but as an advocate, what you will do to make sure because I believe if another city, we call all the economic development, we advocate on behalf of small businesses, we can make those changes. So we cannot tell, okay, this is the federal, this is what they do, but you are the one that meet with those people, you visit, you see, they have the business, they're there. There is no lies, the people will not, so you will have a mechanism to visit those businesses, you see the needs, but help people to get the things easily, not so bureaucracy and paperwork and documentation, yes, but make it easy for the people. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would love, I go out, I talk to them, I push them to apply for this grant. I would love, I'm a business advocate, I love business, and I love to help them, but I have guidelines, and I wish I could give all the business the money. If they call me, I'll go the next day. Within 24 hours, I will go and I will speak to them, to apply for the grant.
Thank you, Director Paulino and Director Strom. Councilmember Renzulli.
It's all the same, but on the 2,500, we working more with the job creation. If for business, they lost employees, and then now they have new employees, so we're working on the job creation on that also, and the construction and reconstruction of the existing social distance that they're doing on most of the business on the outside. Yeah, extending one. Yeah, on the PPE, on that one, on the $1,000, we do have $100,000 set aside for that, for the PPE. And if people, for example, they don't have the receipt and they want to buy some supply, they could buy it, for the future. But and that's how it works. Eventually, maybe from the community development, it will pass it on to another grant, that amount of money. No, we won't lose it.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions or comments for Director Paulino? If you have any more, just feel free to shoot him an email. And Director, if you could send us an email, I know you've done it in the past with those grant programs, if there are flyers or any websites you want us to push, or we'll be happy to share it on social media.
Yes.
Try to get the word out.
Yes, and I also will work on, the council member, if they want to walk with me, to visit a business. And if you have any business that need grant, you can contact me, and I'll certainly be able to help, any business that come in, because we have that money and I want to push those grant out. Yes.
One last thing real quickly. Because we have the phone numbers, I would say at least some phone numbers of the businesses that we already have in the city.
Mhm.
Is there any funding at all that we are able to do, any type of call, like some sort of a robocall that inform people that the city of Cranston has available grants? Please reach out. I mean, you might be flooded with phone calls or an email that can go out. I'm just trying to think of how are we able to at least disseminate the information that we have here to encourage others, particularly not maybe pushing on the loan, but on this. I don't know, just a thought. And we can discuss this offline. I'd be happy to do that, but
Okay,
yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
To go off of what Councilwoman Vargas just said, is there not any information publicly where we can, through people's taxes, through the treasurer's office, through somewhere where we can target businesses that we know are probably qualified rather than I know that I have walked with Director Paulino probably about 20 hours to businesses, and a lot of the places just don't qualify because their employees do not fit the income level. They bring in too much money. So there has to be a way that we can chop down like who we need to contact. So we don't contact the whole city and get inundated with calls. And then you end up with disappointed people who are going to be like, well, why can't I need it? Why can't I get it? And there's only 2 people in the economic development office. So development is coming into the city all the time. And Director Paulino can't be out walking and in the office at the same time either. So I'm just trying to see how we can maybe target businesses who will qualify.
No, that's a great point. Just to follow up, I spoke to a couple of businesses that didn't qualify because of the income eligibility. So that would cut the list down if there's some way we could kind of target it a little bit better. So it is a great point.
Mhm.
In other, and sorry, I don't know if I'm out of
No, it's
turn,
fine.
but how, if we could speak to maybe Warwick and Johnston and see if they're doing similar, if they're having similar problems qualifying people and what they're doing to get around it, because I don't know, they might have an idea.
I don't know if those towns, they have like those grant program that we have, because I try to reach Providence and they don't have those grant program at the current time. Another thing is with the directory of all those business, I know the city clerk has a directory of all the business that they have open and are currently active. And also in the tax assessor's office, we have the tangible property tax, which they file. So that's another database that we have. And I am working with those, trying to get the address and the phone number, but they don't keep the phone number or the email. So we have to establish in economic development a database, with the name of the business, the address, the phone number, and the email. So I'm working on those, with the business that are coming in and the one that I'm visiting.
Unfortunately, that seems like a lot of admin work that
Mhm.
you shouldn't necessarily have to be doing. So that has to exist somewhere on a state level that could be fed into another database. That's not something you should have to do from scratch, but we can talk about that offline because it's getting late.
Yes.
But thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
another suggestion, when we do license renewals, the safety services, we don't put that in the packet. Director Paulino, thank you. If
You're
we have any
welcome.
other questions, we can send you an email or follow up. Great to see you this evening.
Mhm.
And does that conclude all questions for Director Paulino? I think it does. All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Vargas, you had jumped ahead of Councilwoman Marino. You have one item on here left. Do you want to just handle that now?
But what I will do is I will actually send this through the chairman, Councilman Ferry, as the chair of the Public Works Committee, to see if we can add this to the agenda. To the administration, may have been told, but I actually had sent our grant writer pictures and some information on Friendly Road Park. And so definitely it's something that I like to touch base at during their next Public Works Committee. So if we can add that as the agenda on there, soliciting or looking for grant funding on that particular area. So I can talk a little bit more at that meeting.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councilmember. Councilmember Marino, your Councilmember Communications. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. The first item that I have there is the Workforce Solutions. I'm looking for an update as to job placements for the 2021 year thus far for the first piece. Thanks.
On that one, if we could possibly hold off until the November 17th executive session. We would have an executive session, I believe, at the last council meeting, but they think there was a problem with the agenda or the docket and wanted to explain what was going on. So I think one issue intertwines a personnel issue, but I could just broadly say that there's been problems in that consortium with the city of Providence. But I think it's best not to speak too much right now. Executive session might be better suited for that discussion.
Okay, so fair to say, I'll table this, assuming we're gonna have an executive session then.
Yeah, I'd like to have it on the 17th.
November. Yep, okay. And then take it from there. I appreciate that. The second item is senior services transportation. Recently at the senior center, there was mention that I think the administration maybe was gonna work on this as well to assist them to try and get the word out with respect to the trans van services. The senior center allows for transportation at the cost of $5 per round trip or $25 for the month for Cranston seniors being 60 years of age or older. Again, being Cranston residents for trips that are to occur within the city's limits. So if someone has a hairdressing appointment, they want to go shopping to the grocery store, the market, Garden City, whatever it may be, if it's between the hours of, I believe it's 8 a.m. to 2, it might be 9, those services are available. So I figured I'd mention it tonight as a shout out. If we can maybe all, communicate that around because the service is underutilized right now. The other agenda item is with respect to the Budlong Pool. I was looking to know what the maintenance winterization status is because I do not pretend to be an expert with respect to, recreational facilities and a pool of that size and scope. But I do know that winterization status of pools and filters and the housing and the pool itself is vital come the spring to avoid freezing and issues like that. So I just wanted to ensure that those steps are being taken.
Yeah, Ray Sally is aware of it as it wasn't opened this year. It was previously winterized. So there's not much winterization that really needs it. The only thing I want to make sure is that any remaining water that's in that and that is pumped out, remaining inside, obviously for safety purposes in case someone hops that fence.
Would the administration have any objection to me reaching out to the director of that department of Ray Saglia to ask him specific questions with respect to the maintenance to make sure they're being done, that they're being done? Or I can email him and CC you on it. Fair enough.
Very good.
Okay. And the last item is in line with it being Veterans Month for the month of November. I will be sponsoring donation boxes to support Operation Stand Down. Those donation boxes will be located at the libraries throughout the city of Cranston, the senior center, the police station, and the fire departments as well. And I'd like to thank those department heads and those extensions of our city for housing those donation boxes as they're going to a good cause. And along those lines, I'd like to commend the administration for putting forth the parade in honor of our veterans on Veterans Day. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Marino. I see no further council member communications. I will close that section. We have no business to be carried over. We have an introduction of new matters before the council. Just want to note one Scrivener's error for 10-21-02, the Administrative Unit Employment Benefits Book sponsored by Mayor Hopkins. It says on here that it was being referred to the Ordinance Committee. I do believe it should be referred to the Finance Committee. So that is where that ordinance will be heading. I'll entertain a motion to send all of the new matters before the council to the appropriate committees.
Second,
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
yes.
Councilman Donegan. Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Riley. Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, please note the city council's next regular monthly meeting will be held on November 22nd, 2021. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I see none opposed. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good evening.